In parts of Canada, people are moving about more than they have been in weeks, and that brings some relief from cabin fever.
But it also brings apprehension that all your efforts to slow the spread of COVID-19 might be squandered. So tonight, a look at some of the latest protective strategies to let Canadians embrace renewed freedoms while trying to guard against a surge in new cases. Things like ramped up testing. We'll show you why Saskatchewan is testing everyone heading back to work. And you'll also see Alberta's push for stronger airport screening to try to keep imported cases out. But we begin with the government's new advice on wearing masks in public. There's now a stronger call for you to do so. David Cochran has the message from the top and how it plays out on the street.
There was a time when people wearing masks outside a store was a sign of trouble. Now, it's a sign of the times.
I don't think it'll stop me from getting it from someone else, but if I have it, I'll stop from spreading it anyways.
Alicia Darcy forgot her mask at home, even though she's a believer.
I actually think we should be already at mandatory level. I think that should have happened a while ago.
Use of non-medical masks or face coverings is recommended.
It's still not mandatory, but this is a shift in the national advice. Early in the pandemic, Theresa Tam said masks could give a false sense of security.
Putting a mask on an asymptomatic person is not beneficial, obviously, if you're not infected.
But as data on asymptomatic spread proved those assumptions wrong, Tam's advice changed. At first, suggesting people wear masks in some public spaces.
Wearing a non-medical mask, even if you have no symptoms, is an additional measure that you can take to protect others around you.
To now, recommending it as the country inches towards reopening.
More people will be going outside. Public transit may be more crowded as a result. This will help us reopen and add another layer to that how do you go out safely message, I think.
In situations where I'm either walking through the halls of Parliament or going to my office and coming in proximity to people, I've chosen to start wearing a mask.
And he followed through, wearing it right up until he got to his physically distant seat in Parliament. An example others will follow, even if they don't quite buy it.
Maybe they can hold in some of your, molecules or some of mine, but I personally, I don't think they do any good for you or for me.
Well,
but I'm wearing it. Well, because I
know why he wears
people
it.
feel more comfortable around me, I guess, if I wear one.
Being polite to fight a pandemic. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Testing is also key to reopening economies safely, and starting next week, Saskatchewan will have one of the most aggressive strategies in the country. As Bonnie Allen tells us, anyone heading out to work will be able to get one, symptoms or not.
Just being here, back to work, will soon be enough for Trevor Norgan to qualify for a COVID-19 test in Saskatchewan. But he won't be rushing out to get one.
Myself personally, I don't necessarily feel I need to if I'm feeling healthy.
Saskatchewan's testing capacity is relatively high, but demand is low. So starting Monday, the government will expand its criteria to include anyone working outside the home. No symptoms necessary. Hairstylist Shirley Vervock appreciates the testing option, but still feels she would wait for a cough or fever.
I have a family that I go home to, so that would definitely be something I would want to do if I felt like I needed to.
Last week, Alberta introduced testing for asymptomatic people living in Calgary. 3,400 people got tested. More than 100 had the virus.
A negative test today doesn't mean a negative test tomorrow.
Generally, medical health officers have been reluctant to mass test asymptomatic people.
The test itself is not as sensitive as we expected it to be at the beginning.
But infection control specialist Colin Furness applauds Saskatchewan's plan.
We need to be worried about contagion where people don't seem sick. That's actually what's most dangerous. So
he argues provinces should go even further.
We should be testing grocery store workers. We should be testing taxi drivers and transit operators, as well as frontline health folks. They're the canaries in the coal mine.
This plan does not make testing of most workers mandatory.
If it comes down to compelling testing, I think we may have to get to that point.
That would definitely be a conversation that we would have as a team, and if everyone felt like that was the right path, then we would do it together.
But for now, she will rely on other precautions, like wearing a mask, to keep that team safe. Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.
Ontario, which started stage 1 of its reopening yesterday, hasn't even been getting close to its testing targets this week. Yesterday, it processed just over 7,000 tests. The goal, 16,000.
I recognize that the numbers weren't there, kind of shocked me too, but in saying that, we have a strong plan to ramp up the testing.
Any symptomatic person who wants a test can now get one in the province. Health officials say the low numbers this week might be linked to the long weekend or confusion about where to go. So today, Ontario posted another 390 new COVID cases. That's fewer than yesterday, but a bigger jump than just about every other day in the last week. Quebec, on the other hand, recorded a much lower number than usual for the second straight day, 578 new cases. Today, it and Manitoba both announced gathering rules will soon relax a bit.
For now, it will allow us to see friends and enjoy the good weather that is coming. I think it will all do us good.
Starting Friday, people in Quebec will be allowed to gather in groups of 10 from a maximum of 3 households, but only if they're outside. Manitoba is going even further. It will allow gatherings of up to 50 people outside and 25 inside, as long as there is physical distancing.